Aloha! Welcome to today's live stream, everybody. I'm on the other side of the screen. It's a little weird for me, but man, I'm glad to be back and to do this Plasma Apocalypse segment for today. Happy Friday to everybody who's live watching the live stream today. We're talking about Project Bluebeam today. So Project Bluebeam is going to be the subject of what's going on today. I do have the chat pulled up, so if you have interesting comments and ideas and stuff, feel free to, get my attention. Type in @Jay, just like Drew did, and I can put your comment up there on the screen. I did not really give like a warning for this live stream just because I do have a schedule now. So the schedule is posted on my my banner, on my YouTube banner, or whatever. So this is what we're going to talk about. I want to jump right into things. This is such an interesting topic, and we have talked about this before. We're going to continue to do little refresher courses on many different things. What is Project Bluebeam? Now, the first thing we're going to do is talk about what mainstream fringe theorists and conspiracy theorists speculate. What do they believe the Project Bluebeam is? And by the way, the reason I'm on this side over here is because I'm going to put other things over there so we can check them out in a bit. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about what the mainstream fringe theorists, conspiracy theorists, and believe it or not, there are mainstream conspiracy theorists like who all kind of are grouped in the same little mainstream thought, which is totally cool, totally fine. I don't feel like I'm in that group. So I will be sharing a new theory. It's not really new on my channel. I've written books about it, or I'm writing books about it. I've written an entire book called Ancient Oblivion, the Plasma Apocalypse. And in that book, it talks about exactly what the blue beam is, right? So mainstream theories basically talk about how Project Bluebeam is this organized worldwide project that's going to be initiated by the governments all across the world working together. And there's a few different parts to it, but their ultimate goal is control over the entire world, to bring our entire world into like a one world government type of a system, and to take control of everybody, which is mind blowing to me. And I'll tell you why, but in order to do this, they're going to project holograms up into the sky. There's different tenets to this, but the main one is that they're going to project these holograms either from space down into our sky or from the ground up. And these holograms are going to show us things like an alien invasion with all these spaceships and UFOs that are landing down, and the people are supposed to cause. It's supposed to incite panic in the people, and then the government will step in and fight the aliens and shoot them away, and they'll go back, I guess, to their other worlds or something. And then the governments will use this experience in order to introduce new laws and to control the people worldwide, basically to get them all together under the banner of one worldwide government, right? And then they also say that they're going to somehow beam frequencies into the minds of everybody in the world, so that we all have we sort of pick up on this telepathic message that's being given to us, and we're going to be tricked into thinking that it's the voice of God or something, and really it's just the government speaking directly into our minds and stuff. I could see why this is such a popular theory, and I believe there's truth in everything, especially this one. So out of all of the conspiracy theories, this one is one of my favorite ones because it gets so close to what I feel is true, to what my research on my path has indicated. And that's all I'm going to be sharing with you today. Okay. So feel free, if you've got different ideas, if you'd like to share those in the chat, it's totally fine, or the comment section or whatever. Just be kind, right? Be respectful. Try to stay away from absolute statements if you can. That would be awesome. And I'm going to share mine with you. Okay. We're going to talk about what the blue beam really is. So the governments of the world are going to take control by shooting these holograms up into the sky. Some of those holograms will show aliens coming down to invade, and we get to fight them off. But then other theories talk about how some of those holograms will actually be of Jesus or Muhammad and other religious figures that come back, and they appear in the sky, and they're going to speak to everyone. And then that's how we all pick up on this voice of God. And they're going to tell everyone the true story of all the religions and how they're the same. Another part of it is how people will start discovering these ancient artifacts that will rewrite history or will cast a new light on the history that we have been taught in academics, specifically those of, maybe not in academics, but specifically our religions, the different religions of the world. And this is supposed to be in order to unify the people under the banner of a one world religion, right? Which is a fear in many conspiracy circles, that people are terrified that there's going to be this one world religion, which blows my mind. Let me tell you why all of these things blow my mind. All of these things I have told you, except for the holograms in the sky, are already happening, okay? There's already a one world government. There's already a one world religion. There's already, all this stuff is already here. It's just that people don't recognize it, you know? So it's being done already. But I'm going to share the tenets of what this is with you. And that's what we're going to do first. And stay tuned. After I share all of these things, we're going to go over the mainstream, all 4 of the steps that are a part of Project Bluebeam. And then I'm going to share with you the reality, according to my perspective, the truth behind Project Bluebeam, to project the blue beam, right? We're going to talk about what it actually is and what you can actually expect based on my perspective and my research, my books that I'm writing, and my website, and all of my experience that I've collected over the decades about these types of things. All right, cool. So let me get some stuff pulled up on the screen here, and we will do some screen sharing, and I'll show you exactly what is believed. All right, we're going to start with step 1 here. Now it says step 1. Step 1 requires the breakdown of all archaeological knowledge. So all of the knowledge based on things that we have dug up and found from ancient times, right? So there's going to be a breakdown of all archaeological knowledge. This will apparently be accomplished by faking earthquakes at precise locations around the planet. That's interesting. Faking earthquakes. How does one fake an earthquake? You know what I mean? I'm sure it's possible, but this is interesting. Keep in mind, these things are said to happen worldwide, across the world. That's a lot of ground to cover, okay? So just keep that in mind. So they're allegedly going to fake a bunch of earthquakes at precise locations around the planet and fake new discoveries at these locations will finally explain to all of the people the error of fundamental religious doctrines, specifically Christian and Muslim doctrines. That's interesting. Why? Why would it specifically pick on Christianity and Islam? You know what I mean? Why not just tear them all down? Why does it have to be specific? I feel like they tend to be Islamic and Christian people that come up with these ideas, and they take it personally, and they think that everyone in their own religion tends to believe that everyone else, or the governments, or whoever, the Illuminati, are out to get their religion, because that's their religion. That's their home ground, you know? So of course, when you're going to blame the governments of the world for destroying a particular religion, you're going to choose your own, right? And those are the major ones of the world. So that's why it says that. It says that this makes some degree of sense. By the way, I'm reading from rationalwiki.org/wiki/Project Bluebeam, if you're interested. This makes some degree of sense, the article says. If you want to thoroughly usurp a current way of thinking, you need to completely discredit and destroy it before putting forward your own. However, religious belief is notoriously resilient to things like facts. Okay. Let me comment on this as I go, okay? I have to comment on this. I hope my microphone's not too loud. I feel weird because I have a different setup today. But anyways, I would like to comment on some of this stuff, okay? But let me comment on this first. This whole facts, like, where did it say that? It says, we need to talk about this. Religious belief is notoriously resilient to things like facts. I will tell you here on my channel, I do not believe in facts. I hate facts. As a matter of fact, I don't like facts. You know what I mean? Just to be redundant. I don't like facts, okay? Fact is based on the collective agreement of the mainstream population, okay? Fact is just everybody voting on something, and those people who didn't vote on it are incorrect. They're wrong. Their perspectives are wrong. Their research is wrong. They're liars, basically. That's what facts are to me personally. I don't like facts. I don't like absolutes. I don't like facts. I don't like any of that stuff. So when they say religious belief is notoriously resilient to things like facts, what they mean is religious belief is notoriously resilient to things like mainstream opinion and popularity. That's really what that means. Max Collins just gave out 10 random memberships in the chat. Yes. Oh, let me clap over on this side. It's so weird being on the other side of the screen. Hey, Max. Thank you so much, Max. You're the man. I super appreciate you. Let's give some love to Max in the chat. Let me throw in some love right here myself. All right, cool. Now, let me back up a bit. I want to back up. Let's start with step 1 because I need to comment on all these things. Okay. Step 1 requires, okay, so they said they're going to fake worldwide earthquakes. Okay. Let's just assume that they have the ability to fake earthquakes worldwide. I'm not saying you can't fake an earthquake. I'm not saying you can't, have a machine that shakes things or, I'm sure people will say like, oh, CERN is opening and it's creating worldwide earthquakes. In which case that would be a real earthquake, right? Or HARP, oftentimes HARP comes to mind. People are like, yeah, they're going to use HARP to shoot holograms into the sky, and they're going to use HARP to change the frequencies and bounce them off of the atmosphere, and they're going to come back down, and you're going to use Tesla technology to create earthquakes all over the place. Regardless, that is still earthquakes, right? So they're going to fake these earthquakes. I assume that they mean make earthquakes themselves instead of naturally made earthquakes. But they say that there's now keep in mind, this is a part of omens as well. These are all signs and omens that we should take into consideration, right? Because truth echoes throughout time and throughout everything. I personally believe that everything is made from the truth. It just requires a little untangling, right? That the truth has been tied into knots, and those knots we call falsehoods or discrepancies or lies, or you know what I mean? So let's talk about this. They're gonna fake earthquakes worldwide, and these earthquakes are going to reveal new archaeological finds that change the stories that we've been told by our mainstream academics about our past, and change the stories that we've been told about mainstream religions, every single one of them, right? Now, this is really interesting because this is exactly what we're covering here on my channel, is piecing together and using comparative mythology or comparative religions or however you'd like to see it, to see that all of these stories are connected. Every single one of them is interconnected. It's really easy. If you take, for example, ancient Roman myths and ancient Greek myths, it doesn't take a genius to see they're exactly the same. I mean, you could throw in ancient Egypt, which, by the way, that's sort of a nod to our Truth in Movies this weekend. This Sunday, we're going to be doing Truth in Movies, Stargate, if you're interested. Okay, it's going to be really cool. I'm still working on it. It's so awesome. All right, anyways, so there's going to be these earthquakes that open up these new archaeological finds that will cast new information on the world's religions, etc., right? Now, let's continue on. It says that the Shroud of Turin is a famous example that is still believed by many to be a genuine shroud of Jesus, as opposed to the medieval forgery that it has been conclusively shown to be. Wow. That's a serious slant on that subject, isn't it? They're not biased at all. So the Shroud of Turin, I don't really want to get into the Shroud of Turin right now. That's a whole nother video. But this is an example. Okay, they're saying that there's going to be these relics that pop up. Okay, now there have been throughout the decades, like relics all across the world that have popped up that are already showing that our history is not what we thought it was. Okay, our history is what I call ancient oblivion. It has been forgotten by us all, by the masses of the world. It's been covered up and forgotten. It's partially our own fault for not passing along our ancient legends and our stories and histories and things of that nature. So I take responsibility for that portion of it. Okay. And I would hope that others would as well. It's not just your governments and the Illuminati and Satan and the devil and all that stuff. We play a part, okay, in being tricked and in forgetting the things that we have not felt the import of in order to pass them along so that our children can pass them along and their children can pass them along, right? And families in ancient times knew that this type of information would be forgotten, so they purposefully introduced things like traditions and holy days and holidays and stuff so that when they were forgotten, they would still they would still follow along with those traditions and those holidays and stuff, hopefully to keep their families safe when the apocalypse comes. Okay. So they're talking about how these relics will be unearthed. Let's see. They say, indeed, many theologians avoid making falsifiable claims or place belief somewhere specifically beyond observation to aid this. So what finds could possibly fundamentally destroy both Christianity and Islam almost overnight and universally all over the globe. Now, I want to say this. Okay, I want to respond to that. Okay, it's like I'm debating somebody right now. I don't know. But anyways, I want to respond to that. They say fundamentally destroy. You see this part? Both Christianity and Islam. This is what mainstream fringe theorists, conspiracy theorists are saying. They're saying that the governments of the world want to destroy these religions completely. Let's separate two different words, okay? There are spiritual teachings, which Christianity contains and which Islam contains, and as well as their holy books, okay? Which I love. I love the spirituality. I love be kind to people. Like, I love add to the world. You know what I mean? Take what you need and add and leave something behind. You know what I mean? Help people out. I love stuff like that. Those are the types of tenets that are behind the spiritual portion of these religions, right? Now, destroying the religions themselves and the religious systems themselves is akin to destroying the government itself, because the government is a religion. It is 100% a worldwide religion, okay? They control the mind. They are governments or mentals, okay? They govern the mind. They lead the mind or whatever. They control the mind, basically. So just fundamentally destroying Christianity and Islam as the religions, I don't like the religions of the world. I'm not a religion kind of person, okay? And I'm talking about the politics. That's really what it is. It's all political. You know what I mean? And I'm not a political person personally. So I'm all for the goodness behind the teachings, right? Or being good and treating people like the golden rule. You know what I mean? They all have the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But the problem with that is that there are bad people in the world, and they like when people treat them badly. They love drama. They bask in negativity. They pretend like they don't, but you can tell that they do, because they get so dang hyped up about it. They become even more amplified and negative. So the reality is you can tell by their actions what energy is existent on the inside of them. And we have bad negative energy and we have good positive energy. There are some people who are fighting between the two of them, right? But many people in this world have already exhibited that they are filled, from my perspective and experience, which is limited compared to everybody else's in the whole entire world. But that's my path. Most of the world that I have experienced seems to be filled at this particular point in time with bad energy, with the negative energy spectrum. They lean towards the negative. It doesn't mean that they're lost and they can't come back and they can't be good. You know what I mean? I believe everybody can. However, I do believe that energy that is inside of everything in this world is becoming amplified, leading up to the eventual, what I call the plasma apocalypse, right? All right, so it says it's going to destroy the religions almost overnight. I will tell you right now, I believe that it will happen overnight. This is something that happens quickly. This is not something that happens and takes millions of years or anything. This is something that's going to, boom, surprise a lot of people. Now, I do a segment on my channel called Omens. And in the last episode of Omens, we talked about how it shouldn't be a surprise to those of us who are being discerning, to those of us who are picking up on the clues, the signs and the omens, right? Ken Albert just gave me $3.30 and a lemon sticker in the chat. Thanks, Ken. I super appreciate you. All right, so let's continue reading on here. It says it's going to destroy all the religious systems. What is going to destroy that? The information that pops up from our ancient oblivion. Basically, it's an alternative view of the past, right? We need an alternative view of the past. And we have been finding archaeological finds, anomalous archaeological finds that prove that mainstream history is off in many tenets and many avenues, right? Whenever they talk about history, like sometimes they'll just straight up lie about things. Like, for example, hey kids, today you're going to learn how George Washington had wooden teeth or something stupid like that, right? It's clearly not true if you've ever studied that particular thing. All right, so they're going to have these fake earthquakes that are going to unearth all these ancient relics that are going to change the story of history, okay? That has already been happening. If you have been paying attention, if you do a little independent research, you can find these things all over the place. For example, we've been taught that we live at the apex of modern technical advancements. That's not true. That's not, I mean, according to history, if you read anything but mainstream historic, teachings or whatnot, there have been many different civilizations in times past that have already exceeded where we seem to be in comparison. For example, Atlantis. Okay, that's just one example out of hundreds of different examples. But it's not just the stories like, anybody could say, oh, Atlantis is an old wives' tale or whatever. It's not just the stories. It's the archaeological evidence that we find. We find technology, ancient technology that has been petrified and buried within streams of coal deep down into the earth that have been carbon dated at millions of years old. So let's just say that carbon dating is accurate, which I don't believe that it is. But if it was, that means that technology existed, right? They're finding, it could be crude technology. It could be advanced technology, right? For example, the Baghdad battery is also a good one too. And then all these things, people debate about it because they don't want to accept. If they accept that we had technology in ancient times that surpasses ours of the modern age, then they have to start changing all of their perspectives, and they have to start changing their stories and their politics and their religions, and they will start to lose control of the people as the people's minds start to be unclouded and open up and realize that there is an alternative view, an alternative story, and then they'll start researching for themselves because they know that over the years they've been handed a bunch of lies and garbage and deceit and falsehood from the people who claim to have authority over them, right? They can no longer trust them. And they need that. The governments of the world need that in order to, 500 people watching. Oh my God, I'm honored. It's good to meet you all. All right, so let's continue on. Universally, all over the globe, probably nothing, blah, blah, blah. Remember, this is an article I'm reading. Project Bluebeam. So that's step 1. Step 2. Now this is interesting because it's got this picture of Adam, right? And supposed to be like the hand of God reaching out, and Adam's just kind of like, give me 5. I'll touch your finger or whatever. But this is the spaghetti monster. I don't know if you know what that is. These are 2 meatballs right here. The spaghetti monster is a cartoonified version of Cthulhu. And Cthulhu himself or itself is a cartoonified version of the plasma that comes down from the sky that looks like spaghetti, you could say, right? And there's also balls up there too, which are ball lightning, okay? But on a huge, massive scale, okay? Just massive balls of electricity that will float about like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, and they'll be attracted to other electrical energies like human beings, right? So they'll chase them down and stuff. Anyways, there's a lot of truth to this type of stuff when they show you this. It's seen as like satire and stuff, and it's seen to be funny, but it's hard for me to laugh at these types of things because I can see the truth even in the cartoons and stuff. That's why I have a segment on my channel called Truth in Movies. All right. The sky projections. Now this is interesting. The sky projections will appear to people as their God. So there will be these projections in the sky. That's this. Now I want to clarify. This is the reason, in my opinion, why this is called Project Bluebeam. It's not a project as in like a school project and the government's working hard on trying to trick you, so they're writing down all of these steps to follow. It's project. Something is going to be projected upwards, which everybody will see, and some people interpret that as their God, which is a part of the tenets of Project Bluebeam. Now, step 2 involves a gigantic space show. You see that? This is where it gets super fun. Step 2 involves a gigantic space show wherein 3-dimensional holographic laser projections will be beamed all over the planet. And this is where Bluebeam really takes off. The projections will take the shape of whatever deity is most prominent and will speak in all languages. So let me just go ahead and recap this real quick. So the governments of the world, allegedly, this is the mainstream story. I haven't told you my theory yet. They are all working on this advanced technology where they're going to be able to beam images that will be seen differently by each population, right? So for example, if they beam an image over the United States, keep in mind, that's huge. Okay, I just want to say that. That's a huge image. If it's just one image, and if it's not, it's a huge undertaking to project that many images into every single major city. All right, all across the entire world. But it would be like an image of Jesus up in the sky, and he'd be like floating down, and he would stop in the air, and he would address everybody, and we would all hear this like voice in our own languages, and every single person's head, they would hear it in their own language, no matter where they were or what language they spoke. Or if you were in the Middle East, it would be an image of Allah, which is interesting because you're not supposed to have images of Allah. You're not supposed to have images of God, even in mainstream Judaism, right? It's one of the commandments. Anyways, so it will take the shape of whatever deity is most prominent to those people and will speak in all languages. At the end of this light show, that's appropriate that they call it a light show. I believe there's truth to this, and I'll explain that. The gods will all merge into one God, the Antichrist. Now, this is super interesting too, because I've done a few videos about the Antichrist. I recently did one called Christ versus Antichrist, which is really interesting. And it's all about this. So check that out if you haven't seen it yet. It says, this is a rather baffling plan. I agree. If they're saying that this is the governments of the world, first and foremost, I don't give them that much credit. I don't believe that they're that intelligent. You know what I mean? Collectively, they've done a good jobs, but I feel like we are in a time that I call exponential entropy. We live in exponentially increasing entropic times, which means that the energy in our world is dissipating. It's being sucked down into the bowels of the earth as our world is actually in a charge mode right now. It's charging. So that affects those who live on the surface of our world up here. So everything gets less and less energetic, which means it dies off quicker. We have plagues and famines and sicknesses and all kinds of things. Lifespans are reduced time and time again. Candy Jones. Hey, good to see you, Candy Jones. What's up? Thanks for being a member. I appreciate your support. All right, let's continue on. They say this is a rather baffling plan, as it seems to assume that people think that it's actually their God, rather than the more natural 21st century assumption that it is a particularly opaque Coca-Cola advertisement. All right, so basically the article people are saying they don't understand how people could think it's their God if it's a hologram, right? If it's clearly a hologram. Evidence commonly advanced for this is a supposed plan to project the face of Allah. Interesting. How would they know what the face of Allah looks like, right? Despite its contradiction with Muslim beliefs and God's uniqueness, over Baghdad in 1991 to tell the Iraqis to overthrow Saddam Hussein. Okay. Someone somewhere must have thought that those primitive, ignorant, non-Western savages wouldn't have had television or advertising and wouldn't have guessed that it's all smoke and mirrors. Let's see. So they say it pretty much involves anything that would either be, good to see you, Candy, a light show that's seen in the sky has been put forward as evidence that Project Bluebeam is real, and such things are tests of technology. I will tell you this. I'm going to get into my theory in a bit. I'm easing into it though. I have found that oftentimes things that happen naturally that we would call supernatural events, the governments of the world, and sometimes not even the governments of the world, but just conspiracy theorists in general, they give credit to their governments. And they say, oh, well, they have secret technology and they're doing this and that. Yes, I'm sure they have secret technology, but does that mean that they're responsible for every supernatural event that happens in our world? Like the Carrington event, right? This would be this exact same thing as, instead of people acknowledging that the Carrington event was a natural event that happened with the electromagnetics of our world going into flux, they would say, oh, that was the governments back in the time. They had advanced technology. You know what I mean? All right, let's continue on. All right, so they're talking about projecting 3D holograms into the sky using 3D projection mapping, which is incredibly difficult, if not possible right now, okay? Like all these holograms that I'm showing you right now, which are above my head, Wow, my mind is blown that there's so many people watching. That's awesome. See all these holograms? Okay, these are not 3D projection holograms. There is not the technology to create things like this up in the sky at this moment in time that I have come across personally yet, okay? The closest thing I have seen is like they are able to make little flickering tiny points of light in the sky that are super tiny, okay? But I've not seen anything on that kind of a scale. Usually whenever you see these types of holograms, they are tricking you into thinking that they're projecting something up into the sky, like a huge David Blaine show or David Copperfield or something like that, right? But they're not. They need different things in order to make these different types of holograms, okay? Usually they need a screen. They need something to project it onto, right? All right, let's continue on. We'll talk about more holograms in just a bit. It says this stage will apparently be accomplished at the aid of a Soviet computer that will be fed with the minute physiological particulars based on the studies of anatomy. Okay, so basically they're going to have some sort of supercomputer. I'm going to skip this part. They're going to have a supercomputer that shoots holograms up into the sky, or some people believe that it's going to be shot down from space, right? Let me ask you a question. Why is it called blue beam? I have not heard anywhere. I've been studying this for decades. Never have I come across any rational theory that seems rational to me personally that puts forth a theory why they even call it blue beam. Obviously, it has something to do with a beam of light that's blue. So the question would be, why is this beam blue? You know what I mean? Which I'll tell you why in just a minute. The second part of this two-step process happens when holograms result in the dissolution of social and religious order, setting loose millions of programmed religious fanatics through demonic possession on a scale never witnessed before. Now, I would like to comment about the truth behind this. Remember earlier I said that the energy in our world is becoming amplified during these last times, right? The world is charging up and it's getting ready to burst, okay? As the energy becomes amplified during these last times, you will see examples of energetic amplification in our world. For example, the lights in the sky all over the place, all the different types of lights that people are starting to see, and most people are just using, they don't know what else to call it, so they're saying UFOs, all over the place, right? The aliens. And this is a part of this misconception of Project Bluebeam, that there's going to be this alien invasion. There's truth to that, and I'll tell you what that truth is. But they say that they're setting loose millions of programmed religious fanatics through demonic possession on a scale never witnessed before. Let me highlight that. Demonic possession on a scale never witnessed before. When the world's energy amplifies to such a degree, right? It will amplify the existing energy in what people call the spirit and the soul, which means that people will become possessed, right? Possessed for good or possessed for bad. It's basically a point of no return in our world as far as searing of the consciousness or your conscious, right? To sear it, to seal it off for a certain amount of time, because your existent energy will be amplified to the point where what's inside is going to be manifest. It will come out. And it will come out worldwide. And if the world's in general, if the energy of humanity, we'll say, is mostly negative, then you will see most of the population lose their ever-living minds as the world flips upside down, our norms flip upside down, our morals especially are lost completely. And the world will become evil, bad, corrupt, hateful, violent, and that will be normal because it will be a fact that is the normal way of life, right? Steve, what's up, Steve? Good to see you. High five. Thanks for subscribing, man. All right, so let's continue on. Demonic possession, that's plasma possession, okay? That's being possessed. It's the amplification of whatever's happening inside of you already. So for me, that's incentive to work on being a good person before it becomes so difficult for me, right? It's like I'll be a deer in hell. Let's say I was filled with bad energy, right? And I get to that point of no return. It's like I would just be focused on my own selfish justifications of whatever I thought was good in my mind, okay? Because evil doesn't believe that they're doing evil. Evil believes they're doing good. just like good believes they're doing good. Okay. Anyways, this is also reciprocated in many movies and pop culture where people just become possessed worldwide and they start killing. People become murderous. This leads to martial law. Now, if the governments know about this, then they have martial law in place and they're just waiting for the time whenever so many events start kicking off around the world where people become murderous and start breaking laws and stuff, that they'll institute martial law. And they'll have people go into their houses and all that stuff that, I'm sure many people have studied already. Max, thank you for your donation too. I don't want to miss you up there. Thank you so much, Max. Appreciate you. One more and I have 800. Oh my God, it's a record. I'm so excited today. All right, good. I'm glad so many people are interested in this topic. Let's continue on then. All right, so plasma possession worldwide. People will lose their ever-living minds. People will become murderous. People will do just complete evil. You're already starting to see it if you have the eyes to see it. Okay, it's all over the place, but it's going to get worse. Okay, and this is what they're blaming this on Project Bluebeam right now, but it's already happening. Now it says the United Nations plans to use Beethoven's Ode to Joy as an anthem for the introduction of a new age, one world religion. Mano, welcome, Mano. Let's see. Thank you so much, Max. I appreciate you. Oh, and wow, there's a lot of people subscribing. Casey Lynn, good to welcome. All right, let's continue on. There's relatively little to debunk in this. Project Bluebeam conspiracy, citing actual existing communication technology is odd. It appears to be magical. So the question is, how do all of these people hear the voice of their God, their own personal gods? They have to see it in their own way. Right? That's pretty advanced technology. And I have not heard of anything. I'm not saying the governments don't hide advanced technology, but this is, I don't know. I'm not super convinced that we have that type of technology. And I say we I mean our governments basically, right? All right, let's continue on. Rather than just cheap laser projections onto clouds. Right, exactly, right? So they're going to project these beams onto clouds allegedly. Or up into the sky. They have to project it onto something. You know what I mean? Beams of light have to hit something in order to create a projection. Okay. Or otherwise it'll just be lasers just continuing on into space or, up until it hits the sky. All right. Let's check out step 3. Now, step 3 is telepathic electronic two-way communication. Think about the technology that they're talking about. If this is the governments of the world, telepathic electronic two-way communication. It involves making people think that their God is speaking to them through telepathy, projected into the head of each person individually using extreme low frequencies or ELF radio waves. Atheists will presumably hear an absence of Richard Dawkins. I think that's an inside joke. That's kind of funny though. Excuse me. Now, hey, Ken, thanks for a donation, Ken. High five. Appreciate you. Now, it goes on to say that the book goes into some length to describe how this would be feasible, including a claim that extremely low frequencies thought projection caused the depressive illness of Michael Dukakis's wife, Kitty. Okay. Now, step 3. I'm going to explain step 3 and how we can hear the voice of God, as well as the voice of animals and other humans. It's called telepathy, and how we can actually communicate back, acting as receivers and transmitters ourselves. Okay. So I believe there's truth to that. However, if we're talking about the governments that have this technology, that they're just going to force on the residents of the entire world's population of allegedly like 7 or 8 billion, that's pretty advanced technology. You know what I mean? That's a huge worldwide undertaking. And I don't know. I'm gonna give you my reasons why I don't think any of this is true here in just a bit. This is the last step, step 4. All right. So if you're just joining us, by the way, we're going over the official story. Okay. The official fringe theory or conspiracy theory on what's going on behind Project Bluebeam. 4 steps. We're on step number 4. Now, step 4 has 3 parts. Number 1, making humanity think that an alien invasion is about to occur in every major city, which we've seen in the movies, right? All over the place. Like, there's a million movies about aliens that are invading our world, and they always land in major cities. I'll tell you why they land in major cities. By the way, I'm going to take questions in the chat once I'm done going over this. So wait for my cue, and whenever I say let's do questions, right, make sure to type in @Jay or @JayDreamerZ, and I'll put your comment up on the screen Boom, just like this one. I picked one at random. I'll put the comments up on the screen and I will try my best to answer your questions about Project Bluebeam. Okay, so we're going to stay on the subject, Project Bluebeam. All right, now, step one, or the part one to step 4, is making us all think that there is an inevitable alien invasion that's about to occur in every major city. Part 2 is making the Christians think that the rapture is about to happen, which is why I put the image behind me up here. You see people getting sucked up into the sky. That is, okay, I don't want to look like a hypocrite because there's so many people watching. I don't want to look like a hypocrite anyways, so I'm not going to use an absolute. I believe that is going to happen. Okay, that's much better. Okay, then that's how I would like to start speaking. I believe that people will get sucked up into the sky. I believe that has happened before in our past, and I believe that that is attested to in many of our ancient myths and legends and even religions and whatnot. So we'll talk about that too. So that's a part of Project Bluebeam, is people getting sucked up into the sky, and they say it's making Christians think. You see how they're picking? I mean, you got to think like the person that wrote this is a Christian, right? I don't have anything against, Christians in general or any religious people in general, right? Hey, I just got a donation from Mark Shoemaker, who put a little sticker. It says, "Thanks for being you." I like that. Thank you, Mark. That was kind. I'm gonna leave that up for a bit. All right, now that's step 2, is the rapture. Okay, so step 1 was an alien invasion. Step 2 is this rapture. And step 3 is a mixture of electronic and supernatural forces, allowing the supernatural forces to travel through fiber optics, coax, power, and telephone lines to penetrate all electronic equipment and appliances that will, by then, all have a special microchip installed. There's truth to this too. It's insane. Like, thank you so much, Mark. I super appreciate you. High five, Mark. Pow. Hey, look at that jelly. I like that one. Oh, by the way, see this hologram right here? That's a hologram. That's not just being projected into the sky. Okay, what that is, if you look closely next time that one pops up, is it's a machine that has like a little arm on it, or a fan. And that arm blade spins around like a fan so fast, and it's blinking these lights so fast that it tricks your mind, because it tricks your eyes. Your eyes can only see a certain amount of frames per second. So your eyes believe that all those little blinky dots are an image in front of you. There's different types of holograms. Keep that in mind, right? So that's what that jellyfish one is. So keep a close look on that jellyfish hologram the next time it pops up. As a matter of fact, I'm going to scooch that over just a bit so everybody can see it. Or so people can see it better, I should say. Well, we're almost done with this. So let me just go ahead. I'm going to leave it right there where it was. All right, I'll come back to that. Now, let me reread this one. This one's important, and I'm going to tell you the truth behind this one. And if I forget to explain any of these, when we go through our questions and answer segment here in just a bit, get my attention and ask me to explain the truth behind these things that we're going over, the official stories, right? I see in the chat, Patron Whiskey. Aloha to you. All right, now, step 3. I'm going to say this a little slower, okay? A mixture of electronic and supernatural forces, allowing the supernatural forces to travel through fiber optics, coax, power, and telephone lines to penetrate all electronic equipment and appliances that will have... So basically, this is... Just to give you an example, this is similar to what happened during the Carrington event, okay? During the Carrington event, there was such an amplification of energy in our world because of the electromagnetic flux that we went into, that people that were using telegraphs, like telegraph operators and whatnot, those telegraphs came alive on their own after the people were being shocked by them, right? They were working all by themselves, and because there was danger of electrical shock and whatnot, many of the telegraph operators were ordered to unplug their machines, which they thought would just take out all of the power and turn the machine off, and thereby eradicating the danger of being electrically shocked, right? Dude, if we get 1,000 people watching, I'm going to lose my mind. All right. This is insane. All right. That happened. So they pulled the plug, but the machines continued to work all by themselves on their own and continued to shock people. Okay. So this is an example of this. This is basically Skynet. This one right here, if you're like a Terminator fan, this is your machines coming to life. This is plasma possession of inanimate objects, okay? The other one was plasma possession of people. It was the amplification of spirit energy, which is inside of a body already. It's already incorporated, right? But those bodies that are inanimate or don't have spirit unless we give it to them by turning it on and off, they will come to life all by themselves. Max Collins just gifted 5 more random memberships to people in the chat. Thank you so much, Max. Hey, let me give you some more love in the chat. Boom, 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 boom. Here's some hearts for you, Max. I appreciate you as always. You're awesome. All right, now it says, then chaos will break out and people will finally be willing, perhaps even desperate, to accept the new world order. That's an interesting one. The new world order. We already have that. We are already in an order of a new world order. Okay, it's. They pretend like there's borders and there's different countries and there's different states and all this stuff, but they're all collectively working together to enslave their own populations. That's a new world order. Okay, that's the opposite of freedom. That exists. If you don't believe me, just do whatever you want to with your time instead of doing what you feel you have to in order to make money, or what you have to pay bills, or what you have to live, or to survive, or to not get arrested, or anything in this world. Freedom is gone. Okay, so this whole fear that they're propagating. Glenn, welcome, Glenn. Thanks for subscribing. Appreciate you. It blows my mind that they're convincing people like they're going to take away your freedoms one day. They're going to institute a new world order where they're going to control everyone and make everyone slaves. Like, bro, have you looked around at all? Like, you know what I mean? It's already here. It's already happening. It has been happening for quite some time. So let's think about what the inverse of that is. If we already have a world order, if they already in general, right? If they already in general have control, every government of the world already has control of their people, of their populations, and then the world itself is already being controlled and in a form of slavery. Steve, welcome, Steven, right? Then what would be next, right? The opposite of that, because our thinking is inverse right now, is freedom. It's the day of Jubilee. It's actually anarchy. It's actually the opposite of all of the slavery that's being forced on us right now, right? All right. Now let's continue on. Let's see. A device has apparently already been perfected that will lift enormous numbers of people, as in a rapture or UFO abductions, are tests of this device. So what the author of this article is saying is that they have technology, anti-gravity technology. Or, I mean, that's what they would call it, right? Fear That Kid just gave me $2. Man, thank you, Fear That Kid. Super appreciate you. All right, so let's check this out. They're saying that they have the technology to lift people up into the air. Just shoot them off into space, right? Just anti-gravity them up into the sky and disappear this many people. I disagree. I don't believe that they have that technology. I've never seen any proof that they have that on that large of a scale, right? They do have that technology on small scales. I've seen, little quote unquote anti-gravity, but I will explain the rapture to you easily, crystal clear, so you can understand how it works exactly in just a bit. And if I forget, please do remind me. I appreciate you. All right. Let's see. That is about it, I believe. Yes. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to stop screen sharing that right now, and we're going to talk about my theory, the new theory of Project Bluebeam. I'm going to keep that up because I like that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to scooch this one over, actually, and I'll make that bigger because I like these pictures. I like having stuff to look at while we chat. All right, cool. Now, what I'm going to do is, as quickly as I can, is I'm going to recap these 4 steps, and I'm going to explain the truth of this to you according to my own studies and my own investigation and my own feelings. Some of this just comes from my gut feelings, I'll be honest. Like, not all of it, right? I do study quite often, every day for decades now. Freaky Fry, what's up, Freaky Fry? Welcome to my channel. That's the Tupac hologram right there. So I'm showing you all these little hologram examples too, many times, okay? All right, let me start off here with step 1. Let me go to step 1. Where is it? All right, step 1. Step 1 requires the breakdown of all archaeological knowledge. So I'm going to comment on these as I go. Right now, our knowledge that we have now collectively comes from academics, okay? Academics is a system that has been put in place by Akkad. That's why it's called academics, also known as Babylon, okay? So these ancient systems of governments took control of our world or different regions within our world a long time ago. Patricia, good to see you. And they set up these systems of thought, these schools of thought, basically, where they went around teaching the uneducated, teaching the unenlightened, and they offered them these as benefits. Okay, so our school systems were seen as benefits to begin with. Hold on, let me fix this up real quick. Boom. So your education systems, your educational systems that I went through, and many of you have gone through, and many of your children are right now going through, they are benefits that are a type of enslavery. There's a type of slavery. There's that one that spins around, right? So what they do is they go around and they control the mind. This is how governments work. Is it starts with the school system. It starts with teaching people what to believe, right? And people will believe whatever they're told to believe. Basically, if they don't have a strong spirit or a strong mind in the first place, if they have not been raised to think independently, to research, to experiment on their own, as opposed to allowing others, invisible others around the world, to just do these experiments for them and on their behalf, and then trust that they wrote that their conclusions down in some book or whatever, right? So we're already finding archaeological evidence that proves this type of stuff, and we will continue to do so as everything sinks back into the earth, and the earth is charging, including the waters. Okay, so the waters also in different places will sink down. For example, the rivers, the river systems, you've noticed that they're all starting to dry up and stuff, right? They're all getting sucked down into the earth. And whenever much of the waters start disappearing, it will give rise to new archaeological finds and stuff, treasures and stuff, right? And imagine what's on the bottoms of the oceans too, right? All right, so let's skip on to step 2. Now, step 2 is the sky projections that will appear. Now, the sky projections are actual blue beams. Okay, so the truth of this is that our world creates gases on the inside, and it creates electricity on the inside. Right now, it is charging the electricity, but releasing gases. When it releases the electricity, it will charge the gases, ionizing them. The oxygen that will be released into our atmosphere will be ionized blue gas or electric blue light, which will shoot out of cavernous systems the world across, and that light splash the popcorn. That's so cool. Hey, who was that? Hold on, I missed that. Patricia. Oh, thank you, Patricia. Oh, we got over 1,000 people watching. Oh, can we blow up the chat just real quick? I just want to blow up the chat. I want to celebrate so bad right now. That's a record. I've never had 1,000 people watching me. Oh my God, how cool. Or watching my channel. I don't want to be selfish, but how awesome. And there's so many people in the chat. Okay. I don't want to get too distracted, but thank you so much. God, man, you guys are awesome. All right, cool. All right. So gigantic beams of blue light will shoot out of the earth because it's ionized oxygen that is refreshing our supply of oxygen that we're in desperate need of right now, right? Which will also think of this. I'm going to help people out. Crazy, good to see you. I'm going to help people out with your studies. Many people ask me, like, how do I study? What methods do I use? What tips do I use in studying? I like to do independent research. And when I come up with something that sounds reasonable, I ask and I speculate and I hypothesize, which is a part of the scientific process, right? Or a scientific method. I hypothesize, what are the implications, right? If this theory is credible, if this theory holds merit, what are the implications of that? I don't have to erect a flag and say, this is totally true. This is my new way of life. This is my belief system. I'm just hypothesizing, right? And I say, if this is true, what would be the implications of that? What other places would that touch? And I go from there, right? So anyways, these sky projections are blue beams of energy. Vril, it's gone by many names in the past. Robert, oh my God, everybody that's subscribing, thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. And there's a lot of people being gifted memberships in the chat right now, which is pretty mind-blowing too. Thank you to everybody who's doing all the gifts. Chungus Khan is subscribing. Everybody, geez, man. Everybody's here today. Man, this is great. Oh, man. All right. Anyways, so sky projections. All right. So these beams of plasma, that's what they are. They project. They are projecting blue beams, which is why it's called project blue beam. Okay. It's not project blue beam. It's project blue beam. These blue beams will shoot out of every major cavernous entrance in our world. The largest ones, John Smith. High five to you, man. Thank you so much, John Smith. Hey, let's blow up the chat, man, with some love for John Smith. So these blue beams of plasma will shoot out in the major cities of the world, which is why in Project Bluebeam, they say that people will see the image of God they see whatever God they believe in. Okay. In the reality, it's blue plasma that is shooting out of cave systems in these cities. The ancient name for cities is a polis. That's why they say like police. Metropolis is a good example, right? The word polis means the strong pole. That's what that means. Why are places that are cities called strong poles? Right? Because people gather at these poles. They meet at these poles because when the world goes dark and we go into a dark time and these lights shoot out from the earth itself, people will naturally walk towards the light, just like the tale of the wise men in the Bible, right? People go to these strong poles and they gather there and they settle there, and those become polises or cities, right? Metropolises, you could say. Those are gathering places, these huge cities. Man, I'm so honored today, man. I just want to high five everybody. High fives all around. All right, cool. So anyways, when that plasma shoots out, at first it will be beams of light. But those beams of light, as they continue to move and fluctuate within the fluid that we call atmosphere, they will start to look like they're moving about and dancing about, and they will branch off and create eddies and arms and legs, and people will interpret this as looking like whatever they think it looks like based on their life's experience and their perception filters that they already have existent within their minds, right? So people will interpret it in different ways. And as people gossip and talk about, throw around their ideas of what it is, then those will develop into brand new religions and belief systems and stuff like that. And people will give names to them and they will give stories to them as they see them move about in the sky. All right, so those are the sky projections. They don't come from space, okay? Actually, let me back that up a bit. There will be a space show, okay? I want to actually address the alien invasion and stuff like that, right? Remember I referenced the spaghetti monster earlier? So there will be terrestrial light that will shoot up from every major city, and the largest one that will be seen by every city in the world will be from Mount Meru at the North Pole, because that, according to the legends and the myths and ancient history, that is the place where the largest cavernous system in our world exists. It is an entrance point or an exit point. In ancient times, it was known as the ends of the earth, or the four corners of the world, where these four islands were split by these four rivers, and in the middle was a gigantic plasma volcano, or a gigantic volcano that is so steep it shoots up like a tower into the sky. And the reason for that is because it's the electricity that creates mountains and cliffs and all this stuff, right? It's the thunderbolts of the gods, terrestrial gods and cosmic gods, right? But whenever you have all of that energy shooting out in such a massive force at the top of the world, especially after liquefaction has turned much of our surface world into mud, right? Electricity grabs those ions and pulls them up, and the physical mud right along with it, and petrifies it as it goes. That's what creates Mount Meru, or this plasma volcano at the center of the world. That will be the place where, my God, I can't even thank everyone enough for subscribing and watching. Oh my God, I don't even know what to say. Thank you. Wow, Claire, also, thank you. I'm going to put your donation up there, Claire. $25 puts gas in my tank, so thank you so much. I'm breathless. I'm speechless. All right, so those are the sky projections, okay? These blue beams of ionized oxygen that shoot up out of the earth. All right, let's move on. Oh, no, I don't want to move on. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. So I got to close my eyes so that I can focus. The alien invasion. Okay, this all happens during an electromagnetic shift that we're starting now, okay? But when we hit the neutral point, that's when the apocalypse happens. This is all apocalyptic event. This is all an apocalyptic event. So when our world goes through this neutral point, when we hit the neutral point of the electromagnetic shift, the magnetic barrier or the magnetic shield that surrounds our sky, which keeps out the quote unquote Van Allen belts or the plasmasphere, Okay. There's also plasma on the inside of it, which is being pressed in. So there's two plasma spheres. Okay. There's two Van Allen belts or two plasma. So one is on the inside of this magnetic barrier that is above our world in the sky. And that magnetism is repelling the plasma that is on the inside, giving us auroras and pressure that also gives us weather systems and patterns and pressure systems. That's why they're called pressure systems. On the outside, oh my God, I'm so honored. Thank you, everybody. Claire, thank you so much. On the outside, it also keeps out cosmic plasma. People would refer to that as the plasma sphere that is on the outside, right? It's keeping it out. So the only thing we need in order for the apocalypse to happen or the uncovering of our sky to happen is for us to go through an electromagnetic neutral point where that magnetic barrier disappears. There is a worldwide electromagnetic pulse where our magnetism of our world hits a neutral point and there is no magnetism. Your magnets, just like if you watch Stranger Things, there's this part, I think it's Stranger Things, where all the magnets fall off the fridge because of some weird stuff's happening. That will happen. Okay. Everything is going to lose its magnetics. But it's especially harkens to the world losing its protective magnetic shield. When that protective magnetic shield goes away, remember, it is pressurizing our atmosphere. This is what keeps, all of our pressure inside of our world. And that pressure is building and building and building over time, especially the more we birth new creatures into this world. Every single time that a new creature is born into this world, it adds pressure into our atmosphere. And that pressure builds up over hundreds and hundreds of years. And one day, J-Dub, good to see you. One day, Michael Jackson, one day, the world will depressurize. The atmosphere will depressurize as that magnetic dome disappears and releases all of that pressure. Now, when that pressure is released, it will go out there into the heavens, into space, quote unquote space, right? Which means that our atmosphere depressurizes, and our atmosphere, this is how this happens. Okay. Did you see those cars floating away? This is the rapture event. This is all those cars being sucked up. This is Kronos, the god, opening his mouth and inhaling his children. Also, the Nez Perce tribe has a story of this cosmic deity that also opens his mouth and inhales humanity, inhales everybody, right? So anyways, there will be a hole that opens up in the sky at the apex of our world, which is right above the North Pole, and our world, our atmosphere, the fluid that we walk around in, because our atmosphere, I'm nervous now, our atmosphere is, thank you so much, Lens of Love. I appreciate you. Our atmosphere is a fluid. Now, to understand the concept of the Christian rapture or Kronos sucking up his people, or any other god type of a creature eating people and sucking them up into the sky, right? In order for things to float, if you believe in the concept of gravity, right? We will have an anti-gravity time. Gravity will disappear. Our world will lose gravity. It will be zero gravity, right? I used to say we'll go from 5G to no G, to zero G, right? Everything will float. Every single thing will float, and I'll tell you the physics behind it, okay? It's very simple. All you have to do is look up Archimedes' principle. Okay, it's a very simple principle that states that whenever, remember Archimedes jumped into a bathtub and some of it spilled out and he ran around the town naked screaming, Eureka, right? I mean, it doesn't matter if you remember his actual theory. I'm going to tell you what it is. But what matters is that you remember that story. Okay, that's something important that was taught to us in academics that we can use. Okay, so basically, when you have all of that fluid, okay, let's focus. Focus, camera. Focus. This is an important part. Okay. When you have all of that fluid underneath this pressurized shield, okay, and then a hole blows open in the top of that pressurized shield, the fluid starts to come out of it. However much fluid comes out of our sky will be equal to a brand new intensified buoyant force. Buoyancy is what lifts objects up and causes things to float. Hey, Charlie, thank you so much. Oh my God, $60. Wow. I'm so honored. I can't even express it right now today. It's like, wow, over 1,000 people. Thank you, God. I'm going to do questions and answers. I'm going to chill out in just a bit. I'm almost done explaining. But anyways, it's Archimedes' principle, okay? So however much atmosphere escapes our world will be equal to an increased buoyant force that will lift things up from below. This will also create cyclical winds that will move about, and it'll cause a world storm, okay? Now, when everything's floating around, all you need is a light breeze, and it will just push you up into the sky, up into a new direction. We will have much more than a light breeze. I missed that. Man, Maxim, good to see you. Who was that? I'm so sorry. Oh, people are gifting memberships. People are donating. This is, man, thank you is all I'm saying. All right, let's get to the next one. We talked about the sky projections. Oh, no. Alien invasion. I have to address the alien invasion too. Okay. Man, thank you so much, everybody. Wow. So right now, we cannot escape from our atmosphere. We cannot escape from the sky, the limitation of the sky, okay? Because there's that Van Allen belts. Even NASA themselves said that before they go exploring the far reaches of space, that they have to figure out how to get past the Van Allen belts, and they don't know how to do that yet, which is mind-blowing, according to their theories. But we cannot escape until the doors open, until this event happens. This is the event that opens up portals in the sky, or a hole literally in the sky, actually physically in the sky. All the atmosphere escapes. And then once we hit once all that atmosphere balances itself out and stuff, then stuff can float back down. And it will float because it's an increased buoyancy, right? So everything's being sucked up, or it's floating, literally floating up into the sky, right? It will ease back into equilibrium, which is the word I was looking for. And before it hits its equilibrium, things will just slowly float back down. Nothing will just fall down the way it falls down today. Okay. Everything will weigh less, which means it's good news for those of you, right, who've been walking around just exercising normally in this world, because your muscles will be like super powered muscles in the world to come that has increased buoyancy, right? Compared to all of the pressure that we have in our world today. So that's something to look forward to. Thanks again, Gavin. Super appreciate you. High five. So let's talk about the alien invasion. There's two types. No, there's three types, I should say. There is the aliens that come down from the sky, which is that red plasma. Whenever remember I said that there is a magnetic shield around our world. When we go through a neutral point, all of that red plasma that surrounds and is being kept out, right? Just like the pressure that was kept in, all that plasma that is being kept out of our world right now, keeping it from grounding itself, because it's electrical, right? And it wants to ground itself. It wants the earth. It is passionate about the earth. This is called the cosmic wedding. That red plasma it's huge, okay? It will appear to slowly undulate, spiraling down from the sky, and it will be allowed entrance into our world in order to ground itself, right? And because it's electrical in nature, it will be looking for places that are the easiest to ground itself to. So places that have a lot of metal and stuff like that, which major cities tend to have a lot of buildings that have metal frames and stuff. So it'll be attracted to all of these huge skyscrapers and stuff like that, which is why in the movies you see, the aliens are always attacking and shooting their beams at huge skyscrapers and stuff like that. So that's one alien invasion, are the skyworms, the fireworms, the fire dragons, the serpentine beings that come down from above, right? That wriggle their way in and they spiral on in from the heavens, okay? That will be in the form of red plasma, because I believe that it is ionized hydrogen. Be very careful, okay? Be extremely careful, because ionized hydrogen will bond with whatever it touches, okay? It doesn't like to stay in that form. It likes to shapeshift. It likes to change things. It likes to melt things, change their bonds, solidify things. It can petrify things. Anyways, so that's one type of invasion, are these dragons that will be reintroduced into our world. They will be spiraling around our world, and people will see this as a cosmic light show. So that's the other part of the light show, right? We have a terrestrial one where these beams of ionized oxygen shoot out, and we have a cosmic one and that's how you can tell the difference between the two. The good energy is a beam. It's a straight line. It is an arrow, and it represents goodness, right? And this is the vibe that it brings with it. It's a frequency, right? But the bad energy that comes in from above is bent. That's how you know it's crooked, okay? This is the concept of righteousness and sin, right? Like deviating from a path and keeping to a path. Anyways, so one type of alien invasion is the red plasma that spirals on in. The second type is actual physical beings that live just outside of our sky, just on the other side of it. And all throughout the fractal verse, what I call the fractal verse, there are other beings. There are intelligent beings that have technology and they have built ships and stuff. And some of them out there, I'm sure, have reached a level of advancement that they wait or trigger their own apocalyptic cycles. And then whenever this happens, they're able to traverse these plasma conduits out there and they can land. They can come into our world. They can see it open up from above and they can just go right on in and they can float on down and they become the descended race of new bipedal beings. And there are other types other than the human types of beings. Okay. There are the animal alien types of beings, insectoids. There's all kinds of weird stuff that's going to descend from above. Okay. These will be seen in our ancient myths and legends as the fallen angels. And then there's the third type, which are interterrestrials. Okay. So, the same magnetic force or electromagnetic force that acts as a barrier above is also running through the bowels of our world, the bowels of the earth right now. I'm not even in the chat. Hold on. Gumnut man. Hey, Gumnut man. Papow. High five. Thank you so much. I like your little Shiba Inu sticker. All right, cool. So there will be interterrestrials that will come up from inside of the earth as well. Okay, so remember, the inside of the earth, if the surface world is depressurizing, the inside underneath us is also depressurizing. So they'll float up to the top. They'll be able to go through their cavernous entrances up there in their sky world, which is underneath us. And they'll be able to come up through caves and stuff like that. And they will be... there will be humanoid versions, gigantic humanoids that come up, they emerge from different places within the world, as well as monstrous creatures and gigantic animals. This is where our gigantic animals probably come from, right? Like mammoths and stuff. This is why you see so many mammoths around the Arctic Circle, because I believe that they came up out of that Mount Meru central exit point, right? All right, cool. Let's see. Was that it? Or did we have one more step? I think there was a step 4 I wanted to cover. Oh, step 3. Okay, check this out. Telepathic, electronic, two-way communication. So remember, as a part of Project Bluebeam, they say that the government has technology in order to beam information into our heads and somehow allow us to be able to also respond to these gods that appear, right? That's the conventional method. Now, in reality, telepathy, actual real telepathy, is restored to this world because there is such an abundant increase in the electromagnetic field in our atmosphere. Our atmosphere will become, and it does this often in cycles, okay? And there's a lot of evidence for this, that our atmosphere becomes amplified and electromagnetically charged like never before. Oh, yes. Thank you so much. Oh my God. What? I did not see that. Yes. Thank you. Well, Mark, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And Edward gave me $100 and says, Happy Friday. Man, Father's Day is this Sunday. And you guys honestly just made my Father's Day, man. Seriously, I can't really say thank you enough. I'm going to leave yours up there for a bit, Edward. Thank you so much. All right. Now check this out. Step 3, telepathy. Okay. Telepathy, I believe, and my research indicates, is the original language that everybody spoke in the world, including animals. Mankind used to be able to speak with animals just by using telepathy alone. It was only up until a certain point in time when we had to start carving out pictures to communicate with one another because the energy was pulled back into the world and there was no longer any strong electromagnetically charged environment in our atmosphere, right? So we lost our ability to communicate through our own energetic fields with one another because our energetic fields, spirit, auras, stuff like that, shrank and shrank and shrank and shrank and shrank, and it became smaller and smaller and smaller, so that we had to start talking and making sounds and drawing and carving out pictures in rock, which are called hieroglyphs, right? So telepathy will be reintroduced into this world whenever our atmosphere becomes electrically charged once more, right? Which means that it's also, what are the implications of that? There are many, many different implications of what changes will happen and what norms will become abnormal, and what things that are now considered abnormal or magical or fictitious or fantastic will become normal once again. We will transition back into a world that we only know by going to watch Hollywood movies, which is why I do my whole Truth in Movies segment, right? So the world will become magical once again. We will speak telepathy. We will be able to understand each other. The Tower of Babel effect will be reversed because that tower will be reinstituted. It will go back up. Those beams of energy worldwide will go back up, filling our world with ionized oxygen once more. All right, so that is how people will be able to communicate and hear the voice of their God. They will hear the song of the world, okay? It's not the voice of, some religious Jesus figure or some religious Muhammad figure or any other religious figures, okay? It is frequency that people are picking up on and tuning into, and all of a sudden it gives them revelations about various things, about the mysteries, and people just suddenly start understanding and seeing clearly for the first time. Humanity in general starts to see clearly for the first time in a long time. Thank you so much, Edward. Big high five to you. And also Jupe says, have a fantastic Father's Day with 5 pounds. I think that's 5 pounds, right? Whatever it is, it's 5 of something that I didn't have before. So thank you. All right. So the telepathy will be restored. And it's not going to be projected into the head of anybody. It's just that it will be a resonant frequency that's all around you and you pick up on it naturally. Mr. Anti-Everything. I like that. That's a cool name. Welcome to my channel. Excuse me. All right. Now, step 4. Step 4 has 3 parts, so I'm going to acknowledge these real quick, and then I'm going to do my questions and answers segment. I definitely want to do that and jump into the chat with everybody. All right, so making humanity think an alien invasion is about to occur. There will be an alien invasion, but it's not an invasion. It's just, some things that live outside of our world will naturally just kind of drop in because they're nearby. Some other creatures will purposefully steer into our world because they have rockets and stuff too. Keep this in mind. If NASA and Elon Musk and other space agencies around the world, let's just pretend like they know, let's pretend for just a moment that everything I'm telling you is true. And let's pretend also that these space agencies know about it. And the implications of this are that they are not building rockets in order to go off into outer space or whatever, and that they're doing all these space missions. It's that they are doomsday prepping. That they're getting ready to avoid living in a post-apocalyptic world, and they're going to leave taking their technology out of this world during the only time when they're able to. The only time when it is possible, when these doors open from time to time cyclically, right? All right, so that's the alien invasion. We ourselves, or representatives of Earth, I guess you could say, will be also a part of this alien invasion as we go and invade some other world, and landing in their world. This is why it's Elon's creating all these rockets that can land. They plan on landing, not coming back down to Earth and landing, but on another Earth somewhere else. And they're going to land over there, becoming the gods of some other world, because that world will be thrown back into the Stone Age. No one will know or understand or have access to any kind of technology, and they become cavemen. So Elon Musk and crew, this is all given to you. Remember when we broke down that movie in our Truth in Movie segment called Don't Look Up? And at the end, the governments of the world did this exact same thing. Okay. And I've been saying this since way before that movie came out. They blasted off during an apocalyptic event, and they landed on some other worlds and brought their technology and stuff with them. Which, by the way, there was also monsters on those worlds too, because they're going through an apocalyptic event, and that's when the monsters are reintroduced. Thank you so much, Jupe. I appreciate you, man. Straight Jacket, what's up, dude? Thanks for all the stars. I super appreciate it. All right, cool. Making Christians think that the rapture is about to happen. We've already covered that. The rapture is a part of the plasma apocalypse, which is what I call Project Bluebeam, which is basically a code name for the plasma apocalypse. And we kind of already explained that. So just if you take Archimedes' principle and you apply it to our atmosphere depressurizing, then it's it's all of a sudden the answer is there. All of a sudden it's very easy to understand that buoyancy increases in this world. Now, the reason that we have gravity or perceived gravity at this point in time is because we have so much pressure in this world. Have you ever had a 2-liter bottle? You do that experiment where you put like a little scuba diver guy who is just floating right in the middle of a 2-liter bottle that has water in it. And you have the cap on it. And then you squeeze that 2-liter bottle and you put all this pressure onto it. That little floaty guy, that little scuba diver will sink down to the bottom. And it's like he has gravity in his little 2-liter bottle world. But the second you let go of all of that pressure, that little floating scuba diver shoots up to the top. Max Collins says, thank you for all of your efforts and dedication with $50, a full tank of gas. Thank you so much, man. And thank you so much, Max. All right. I'm finishing this up, and then I'm going to take questions in the chat. So the last part is a mixture of electronic and supernatural forces. Oh, remember we talked about Skynet, right? So this is the whole Skynet thing. I'm going to read this again because you can't see it on your screen. It says a mixture, this is the official story, a mixture of electronic and supernatural forces, which are just natural forces that are not commonly seen or understood, okay? A mixture of electronic and supernatural forces, allowing the supernatural forces to travel through fiber optics, coaxial cables, power supplies, telephone lines, and to penetrate all electronic equipment and appliances that will by then all have a special microchip installed. Now, here is the reality to what I just read, even though that's kind of hard to understand. Basically, every single thing in our world will be affected by the plasma and the electricity that enters into this world. So any electric device, any mechanical device will come alive all on its own because energy will be given to it. Spirit, you could say, will be given to the inanimate, okay? Every single thing in this world will appear to come to life at least for a time period. Right? This is just like in the Terminator, Skynet, and this is why it's called Skynet. It comes from the sky. There is a net of snakes, plasma, serpents, dragons, whatever you want to call them, but it's electrical energy that comes down into this world and it goes into metallic objects specifically and brings them to life. It gives energy to things that does not need to be plugged in. Just like remember when we talked about Ms. Daldi. Oh, thank you so much, Ms. Daldi. High five to you. Happy Father's Day. I hope you get to enjoy your weekend with your son. I do. He's not here right now, but I get to go pick him up tomorrow, and I bought this little blow up boat at Walmart, and I'm thinking about taking him out on this lake that's nearby and just, enjoying time together in a boat. I don't know. We don't fish or anything. I don't know what we're going to do, but maybe we'll skip rocks and stuff. So thank you, Miss Daldi. Man, everybody, I hope I didn't miss anybody. I'm so sorry if I did. Thank you, everybody. All right. Miss Daldi, I'm actually going to leave yours up there for a bit too. All right. So all of this energy, all of the plasma comes into this world and it seeks out a body, okay? Especially once that magnetic barrier goes back up after the neutral point, right? That barrier will be reinstituted and the doors will be closed in the heavens and in the lower worlds. And all of that plasma inside of our world will desire a body. It will desire to experience this world not in spirit form, because that's not what the world is designed for, okay? It's designed for spirits to have bodies so that they can interact physically with the physical world until you leave, and then it's fine. But anyways, so this is what happens. And this is exactly what happened during the Carrington event, right? The Carrington event over 100 years ago was energy. Our world went into flux once more. And this happens. And I also want to point this out, okay? The world does not need to depressurize. The atmosphere does not need to. I believe it will. I believe we're long due and long overdue, but it does not need to depressurize in order for the energy to reverse, in order for people to see these blue beams and whatnot, right? Prod by Jono just subscribed. High five. Thank you, Prod by Jono. All right, cool. So that's it. I think that's it. Is that it? Let me just double check. All right, that's it. So just to recap, people say that Project Bluebeam is the government's trying to take control of the world. I'm telling you now, they have it. They have had it for quite some time. That is why they are called governments. They have control already. It is ridiculous for my rational mind to believe that we are all somehow free individuals that don't have to go to work and don't have to make money and don't have to pay taxes and don't have to get insurance and don't have to abide by all of the rules and regulations and certificates and all this ridiculous stuff in the world today that has been set up in order to enslave us, right? Society is already enslaved. There is already a one world, new world order. There will be a new order. And if you have a new order that breaks slavery, that's not a bad thing. Okay? That's not good. It's the opposite. They're trying to make it sound like it's bad. So remember, evil thinks it's doing good. So they will call whatever is on the way that is good, just like all of the religions say that there's some sort of good savior figure on the way, right? To change everything, to change the system. Oh my God, this is insane, dude. Mr. Million. I got to read this. I'm going to jump into the chat. Forget this. I'm jumping in the chat. You guys, I need to. Mr. Million says, JayDreamerZ, do you think that when people see trails on psychedelics that they are just seeing their hands move through the now visible plasma due to the eyes dilating and allowing in more light? Yes, actually, I think that's a really good theory. I like what you're coming up with. And I also like your little icon up there. That's super cool. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Million. So yes, if you're interested in more on my thoughts on that, I did a Truth in Movies on Donnie Darko, right? And in Donnie Darko, you can see a type of what you're talking about, which is what people tend to see or sometimes see when they're on psychedelics. Whenever they take in more light. When you can take in more light, right? Or when your energy is different, it's also based on your frequency. And certain drugs have the ability to manipulate frequencies, right? Some for the better and some are shortcut drugs, which are way bad. I don't recommend. But I'm very much a proponent of like the natural things of the world, which shamans and witch doctors, and you could even say wizards and sorcerers and whatnot have worked with in times past. But those people that chop up drugs and try to put them all together into some sort of like super compound, those are extremely dangerous because those are shortcuts and they tend to give you a quick trip into the quote unquote spirit world. And it's not gradual and it's sudden and there's a huge crash and people can lose their minds and all kinds of bad stuff can happen. But yes, just to answer your question in short, thank you for your donation. All right. I'm in the chat now. So let's do this. There's a lot of people in the chat, so if you type in @Jay or @JayDreamerZ, then boom. Ears to hear, eyes to see says @Jay. This is a lit stream tonight. I can't agree more. I totally agree. It's a lit stream. Wow, it's like there was over 1,000 people watching, so I'm so honored. Thank you so much. Good morning from Malaysia. Shout out to Malaysia. Good to see you. Daughters of Lilith says, Jay, so many blessings today. I totally agree. All right, let's get into questions. I'm specifically looking for if anyone has a question about the new theory that I've discussed, or how things work or how anything works as far as Project Bluebeam and the reality, the alternative theory to it, right? All right, Loretta Allen is in the chat and says, JayDreamerZ, I heard rumor. You know what? I'm going to scooch this over just a bit so we can read comments a little easier. One sec. All right, I'm going to scooch our live chat highlight over a bit, just off to the corner there. All right, cool. That way I'm not in the way. All right, back to Loretta. Loretta says, I heard a rumor that the smoke is not from fires, not from natural ones. Are they just releasing some sort of substance to aid their blue beam projections? What are my thoughts? Good question. So my thoughts, and I went over this in the segment that I do called Omens. So feel free to check out the very last episode of Omens. And this, I talk all about those Canadian wildfires. But it is my belief and my theory so far that if I stutter, I'm so sorry. I'm just nervous now. I don't know why. That two things are happening. One, the sun is getting hotter. Okay, the sun is getting hotter and the daytime is getting smaller, which means that daylight is being more and more focused and getting hotter and hotter to the point where it is starting to catch things on fire, especially whenever it's directly above things. Like right now, it's happening in summertime. So in summertime, the sun is trying to go past the boundary of the northern tropics, right? So it's starting to catch things fire in the northern areas. Also, you have to remember that the Earth is starting to release all of these gases that we've talked about, especially those gases that are trapped within the permafrost that is wrapped around and near to the Arctic Circle. So those gases are starting to catch on fire, as well as the Earth itself can release electricity too. So the smoke. Oh, the smoke in New York City, I don't know. I don't see any reason to think that that's not just smoke. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't have anything more than that. I will tell you it's an omen that the entire sky turned orange. But for more information on that, please check out my omens segment. Let's see. Do I think they're releasing some sort of substance to aid their blue beam projections? No, I do not. I think the Earth, I don't like to give the Illuminati or the government or whatever any credit. I'd rather give Mother Nature credit first when it comes to supernatural events and happenings, right? All right. Thank you so much. And also, Miss Doll D, thank you so much, too, for the Father's Day present. I appreciate you. All right. Now I'm catching back up. If I skip you, somebody said they were like number 500 and something. Oh, my God. That's insane. If I skip you, just retype it. I'm going to catch whoever I can catch because there's a lot of people. Belinda says, Jay, what are your thoughts about the Vegas alien story? Also, I mentioned that in the last Omen segment, but in short, I believe that it is the world talking to us that these things happen, showing us what is to come. They're echoes from the future. They're prophetic echoes, you could say. That there will be aliens or alien creatures that are not terrestrial that come from other worlds. There will also be terrestrial inner world creatures that rise to the surface just like we went over. However, do I think that there's aliens that land in Las Vegas? No, I think everything in Las Vegas is a part of a show. So I'm not super convinced by that. All right. I Byerly, I don't know if that's I or an L. I'm so sorry. Says, Straight Jacket, I asked Jay about once, but he wasn't up on it as much as I wanted to be. Okay, I think that was somebody like in internal conversation. Ominous, what's up, Ominous? Good to see you, man. Says JayDreamerZ, great presentation today. I've shown everybody your channel that I know. Thank you. Oh my God, I'm honored. Prod X Astral says, JayDreamerZ, what are your thoughts on Bro Sanchez? Well, I don't know him personally, so I can't speak too much on it, but I will tell you I do pop into his show from time to time, and I do like the things that he's into. Especially, I would love to chat with him sometime about the North Pole. I know he had a guest on there recently, and he was trying to really get excited. He's trying to talk about the North Pole and stuff, and you know, they weren't really able to go in that direction, but I am writing a book about it right now, so I would love to chat with him. So big shout out to Bro Sanchez. Crush your pants. Oh my God. Says Jay, are you the reincarnation of Moses or Noah? Or are both the same person? What are my thoughts on Dr. Greer's conference? I have no idea who Dr. Greer is, so I don't have any thoughts on that yet, as of this live stream. And am I the reincarnation of Moses or Noah? I'm going to say no to that. If I am the reincarnation of anybody, I don't want to say who I think I would be the reincarnation of because, you know, that comes across as bragging and not very humble. So I'm just going to keep quiet on that one. All right. Max Collins says, Jay, were the towers a blue beam test? The towers. Oh, you mean like the towers, like on that particular day, right? I don't believe so. Okay, so I'll give you my thoughts on that. Just I have to. That's a touchy one, right? You know, when it comes to the algorithm. So I will tell you, I have a lot of thoughts about that. I don't usually go into that particular subject, but I will tell you that I'm not really like into like the people beaming energy onto them or whatever. There used to be a video. Okay, I'm going to say this. There used to be a video. I have to be careful about how I talk about this subject. There used to be a video that was extremely compelling to me personally, and it was called the No Planes Theory. And if you can find that, I would highly recommend checking it out. Okay, so that is my line of thought for that. I will also say that it was a symbolic gesture worldwide to let people know about those were the pillars, symbolically, those were the pillars of Hercules, okay, coming down. And the pillars of Hercules come down, which are the anode and the cathode beams on either side of the Garden of Eden or Hyperborea, right, on their own little plasma volcanoes on either side. So the anode and the cathode go up and they create their beams, or an 11 in the sky. And eventually they're drawn to each other and they create an electrical arc, which is split by Mount Meru's beam, which turns the two into one, right? It turns the two blue beams of light into one blue beam of light. On the bottom, those two blue beams act as like the legs of that cosmic stick figure. But I have a lot more information on that topic and a lot more thoughts on that particular topic. I just can't say it on this platform, basically. So thank you so much, Max. Appreciate you. History's Mysteries Unveiled. What's up, man? Did you notice I super gave you a wrench Yeah. So check this out. I jump in the chat and I watch and I see who's cool, basically. So I think you're cool. It says, nah, Merlin was a druid. Jay is more of a Buddha. Oh, I'm honored. Thank you. I mean, I like druids too. Do you know that the root of the word druid comes from deru, which means tree? The tree people. They're the people of the tree. And these trees are these terrestrial ionized gases, right? That we talked about, these blue beams. They sprout out of the ground and they're seen as trees. That's one of the symbols that they're seen as. So it would be an honor to be a druid as well. Screen name 229, what's up, dude? I got your email, just so you know. I'll double check to see if you wrote back, but it says, Jay, they use at least 3 lasers to bounce them off of one another. They can also use a pulse. They can also pulse frequencies, voices into the plasma. A whistleblower claims projections show up in color beams in night vision goggles. Okay, sweet. If you're into like that they're shooting actual holograms into the sky, I think that's awesome. I think anything is possible. I'm just sharing with you like my alternative theory on that. But I hear what you're saying. You know, that they triangulate patterns in the sky and that they can, it's possible. I don't know. That's a huge undertaking. The Earth is a big place. You know what I mean? But I'm not disagreeing with you whatsoever. And thanks for reaching out to me. Orphic Metamorphic, what's up? Says, Jay, imagine when we all meet up at the North Pole. We will all know you by sight, but you will not know us. Oh, no. I will know you. Unless we tell you our YouTube name. No. That matters not. Your YouTube names, whatever picture you choose, okay, all this stuff matters not. It's irrelevant, okay? I'm not picking on you or nothing. I'm just saying, remember how we're talking about telepathy? And you can, I mean, if you can sense another's thoughts, you can recognize their energetic signature pattern, okay? So I will recognize every single one of you. Every one of you. I will recognize you by your energy. That's why I call you the Good Vibe Tribe. That's why we call each other that, okay? So I will recognize you. Be rest assured. All right, I'm skipping back into the chat. Let's see, we got Chosen One Lore says, JayDreamerZ, I think you would love Killa Priest. He's a rapper that raps about ancient history. All right, cool, right on. Sounds cool. Inea Cannon says, JayDreamerZ, what do you think of the VOV put on that 11 site afterward? I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about. I'd rather stay away from that particular subject, though. So let's stay away from that subject that talks about those buildings in that particular day, please. Just because we're having a really good live stream, and I'd like to keep it on point on the topic, which is Project Bluebeam. All right. Will I be able to say your name? Yes, I will. Daughters of Lilith. All right. Sally's in the chat, says, JayDreamerZ, how are we going to see the beam at the top of the world from Tasmania? Where I am at the bottom of the world, is it that there is no real top or bottom? Good question, Sally. So here's my response to that. If you can see the North Star, you will be able to see at least a portion of this beam that comes up from Mount Meru. Okay? If you cannot see the North Star, you won't be able to see the beam. But many people around the world can see the North Star, right? So the further away you are, the only part of it you'll be able to see is getting higher and higher and higher up into the sky. Okay, so the closer you are, you'll be able to see it in its full glory, including the anode and the cathode legs and everything on the sides and stuff. And it'll be bigger, and you know, people will have their own unique experiences. Good question. I'm glad you asked that. Zach's in the chat. What's up, Zach? And says, Jay, what are your thoughts on the Mandela effect? That's a little off topic, so I'm not going to go into that one. Daughters of Lilith says, Jay, they're trying to get your video flagged. Oh, I see. Well, let's avoid all of that. All right. So the best thing to do is to just move forward, right? Let's just move forward. Burnt Reynolds says, Jay, sorry. You said it right after I sent the message. My bad. It's okay. All right, cool. So listen, the chat's getting a little discombobulated and we're kind of losing our flow. So I'm going to respectfully bow out. I'm going to thank everybody so much for all of your participation. All of the memberships, Max Collins, boom, giving out so many memberships today. Gavin with a recent $20 donation, and Max for his $50 donation. Everybody else who's donated. I want to thank everybody in the chat for participating and being cool with each other, and most of all for being kind. And Wow, over 1,000 people in a live stream. Like, how exciting. Man, I'm so excited about that. Thank you so much. All right, until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.
Cool.